We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180. Our guest by phone is somebody who was not on the Titanic, Juan Williams. Even though, Juan, there probably is time that you feel like you're on the Titanic.
Well, let me just tell you, when you're getting fired and told, despite your history of writing, but I wrote Eyes on the Prize, America's Civil Rights Years. I've written a biography of Justice Marshall, the first African American on the court. So you can imagine how much it felt like the ground was moving under my feet and I was being swallowed by the ocean when I was told, all of a sudden you're a bigot and not allowed into, civil conversation in the United States because you're just a bad person. I mean, unbelievable to me. I was like, who am I? I'm not me anymore. And then, what was interesting was the amount of attention that the thing generated. I ended up on the front page of papers, and at one point I thought to myself, did I kill somebody? What did I do? Because it was so much bigger than me. But I think Americans responded to the idea that they don't like to be told, keep your mouth shut, not allowed to say what's on your mind.
I think the best. Looking back, it looks like that might have been the best thing ever to happen to you, as far as your career.
That's very revealing about you, because I hear that from men who say, well, you know what, Fox took care of you in terms of your new contract and in terms of giving you a larger role to play at the network. And women, to the contrary, always say to me, are you okay? Because I think they know it feels like you just got kicked in the shins to go through that kind of public ridicule. But I at the same time, I must say, I do feel like I survived it, and I feel better, and I feel stronger. But the night it happened is such a searing memory for me, because I remember I did not sleep. I wondered if my career was over, if anybody would want to do business or hear from me again. Was this woman right? And I didn't know what to. As I said, I not only stayed up, but I was crying a lot, because I just thought, I've had a long career in journalism. Is this the way it comes to an end? So there was a dark moment there, but I feel like I've definitely, surmounted that.
Men don't cry.
Yeah, and
thank you. Thanks, Dan.
It sounds like a song. But what it really showed you, though, Juan, in the long run, is that conservatives do look at both sides of an issue, and yet, there you are, hired by somebody who looks at things fair and objectively. Fox News.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, I always say to people when they are attacking Fox, I always say to them, well, gee, I'm there. They don't tell me what to say, but the idea that they offer people the opportunity to hear different perspectives, I think, is so critically important. And yet, people say, but yeah, it's conservative. I say, well, it certainly makes a point of making sure that the conservative perspective is presented, but I don't think they exclude the other perspective. And going back to my previous employer, there were times when I felt not only was the conservative perspective banned, but in fact, they would limit and encourage people, I think, to go the other way. So, and tell you what to say and what not to say. I've never had that experience at Fox.
That's good to know. Juan, this is Clay, and I'm pretty right-wing, but I unfortunately believe that Obama's going to get reelected. And I was wondering what your opinion was on that.
I think if you were to, today is, I believe, early April, and I don't think there's any question that if you were to make a bet right now, given his standing in the polls, you would say, and the fact the economy is improving, that you'd have to bet on him. But I would also point out that the Republican primaries have not helped the Republicans in that Romney's negatives, and he's the likely nominee, have been driven up by this primary process.
The one comment I keep hearing from Republicans, and I ask them who you're going to vote for, and their comment is always, well, there's really nobody in the Republican primary that I could support. And, I don't think it would matter who the Republicans ran. You'd get the exact same comment.
Wow.
I mean, that's how I feel about it.
You mean that that it doesn't matter who the Republicans put up, they think Obama wins?
Well, I think they do, and it's unfortunate because I think, listening to your cohorts on Fox, I think you're the only one in that whole station that supports Obama.
Well, again, I think it's not a matter of supporting Obama, but making what I think is a pragmatic, obvious argument about the political dynamics of the moment. Republicans are hurting right now. The numbers are not good. You have an ongoing split within the party between Tea Party and establishment Republicans. If you look at money, they're doing well in terms of those super committees, but Obama's doing much better in terms of fundraising and is going to have a strong, I think, argument to make come the debates because he's a strong politician. So anyway, I think the odds favor Obama at this point.
We're having a conversation with Fox commentator, author Juan Williams.
Unfortunately, he still has Pelosi and Reid on his team, and I'm not sure either of those are great benefits to Obama.
No, well, I think that they'll be beat up, and I mean, those are points where people will say we don't like Democrats, and the question then becomes, what happens on Capitol Hill? Right now, I think Republicans are likely to lose a few seats in the House, but I think they're likely to hold on to control because they have a substantial majority there. In the Senate, it's a different story. I think until recently, Republicans were going to take control of the Senate. Now that Olympia Snow's not running, we've seen some dynamic shift in terms of who is getting in on the Democratic side. I'm not sure of that. But again, the Democrats are really on the defensive because they've got so many more seats to defend than the Republicans do. And the Republicans only need to win 4 to get a majority there.
Wow, only 4. Well, we'll take care of that then.
Yeah. The odds favor you.
You know what? Something dawned on me, too. You were talking about Bill O'Reilly. I think you're the third guest we've had that is on his show because Margaret Hoover's been on our show a couple times. And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she's great. And then Kyle Olson's been on. What's Bill O'Reilly like to debate?
Well, he's very strong. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Bill is that I think many people say to me, why doesn't he let you talk more? Why doesn't he let you talk? But I think Bill drives the show, and I think it's the reason it's the #1 show in cable, by demanding that people give him a concrete, straight answer immediately. No dancing, right?
Exactly.
No spin zone. Give me the answer right now. So you and I are involved in a conversation. Bill would say something like, so is O'Reilly good guy, bad guy, yes or no? I mean, and it's a certain tension because, you find yourself boxed in, but it makes for great TV.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, he's a lot of fun to watch, especially when he gets with Ronaldo, what's his name? Rivera?
Ronaldo? Oh,
yeah. I love to watch that debate because they're both going different directions all the time.
Oh, my gosh, and they're both such fiery, stubborn men, yes.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah, that's an interesting one. Juan, I had a question for you. Going back a little bit to what happened to you at NPR. When that happened, I remember something I had heard years ago as a kid. Who would you rather see walking towards you, a gang in an alley or a gang that had Bibles in their hand? Which would make you less worried? And it made me think of what's going on now in Florida with the Trayvon Martin case. Do you think there's been a lot of comments on both sides that really have nothing to do with the truth, and there's really a lot of racial profiling going on both ends of that issue?
Yeah, I wrote a piece in the Wall Street Journal last week in which I said I think a lot of the race baiters are out on this case. And I think they're out because they want to somehow fit it into what's happened previously in American history. People mention the Emmett Till case, that 1955 case in which a black boy was killed down in Mississippi for whistling at a white woman, and they're saying, oh, it's like that, this is such injustice. I make the case in the Wall Street Journal that, the great injustice at this moment is the fact that if you look at the high proportion of murders in this country being committed against black people, they are committed by black people. And it's usually some teenage gangbanger shooting another teenage gangbanger. It hardly even makes the papers. That's the real sin, and the sin is with the minstrel show we have on cable television, places like BET, where you see the only image of young black men is, either that they're using the N-word or they're, violent rappers who are talking about how many times they've been in jail and how many people they've killed, the disrespect for women, the anger even at the idea of marriage. Unbelievable. All of this is a constant, and it feeds stereotypes in the white mind. But what's even more pernicious to me as a black father is that it gives young black people the image, oh, that's how I'm supposed to look if I'm a real black person.
Right.
And anybody who doesn't look like that is just a pretender, and he's an Uncle Tom, and then things like education and excelling in school are for people who are acting white. This is so damaging, so horrible. Why aren't we marching in the streets about those issues?
Good question. No answer.
Well, that's the way I feel. In fact, I wrote a book, Bill Cosby raised some of these questions about 5 or 6 years ago. I wrote a book about how Cosby had gone through this because Cosby started talking about 7 of every 10 black kids being born out of wedlock, started talking about the 25% poverty rate, started talking about the incarceration rate and why criminal activity gets a pass in the black community. And he was, at that point, excoriated.
Yes.
And the question was, why is Bill Cosby feeding right-wing criticisms of black people? And instead of saying, well, wait a second, maybe Bill Cosby's pointing out the failures of black leadership in this generation.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Juan, in the 30 seconds we have left, I want to mention those books that you talked about. One of them is called Enough. That's
the one I'm talking about.
Yes, Bill Cosby's speech at the NAACP in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes on the Prize, America's Civil Rights Years, 1955 to 1965. Looks like a great book. And the book you just came out with this past year, Muzzle the Assault on Honest Debate.
Right.
And Juan, we've got to have you back on. I mean, this has been
I'd be delighted. You guys are a treasure. Again, places where people can talk, and here I am, you've been so kind to invite me, able to talk to you, able to make my points, and listen and learn from you. I just think it's tremendous. That's what we need more of in America.
Next time I do my Bill O'Reilly with you.
Deal. I look forward to it.
Thanks, Juan.
Bye-bye, guys.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.